YouTube, what's going on? Um, I know the lighting on this isn't great, but should get better here in a second. I haven't done a video for a while, as you all know, but wanted to do a video on this. So I'd say like once a year, maybe once every couple of years, a brand, Greenlight usually, but sometimes it's other brands, announce castings, new toolings that get me pretty excited. Um, the Chevy Caprice was one. The Ford Bronco from Greenlight was another one. Um, the Land Cruiser 60 series from NO64. Just stuff like that, but it's pretty rare. But this is the latest casting that was announced that I was like, you know what? That's a casting I really want to have. Um, I started actually saying that when they released the K5 Blazer. At that time, I said, man, I really want the Suburban. And they finally did it. And unlike the Greenlight K5, the Suburban actually has a really nice stock stance on it. Now, I'm not going to open this one right now. I already have one that I opened. Um, if you follow me on Instagram, you've seen it. I took the tires off and sprayed the wheels with a matte clear to tone that shiny chrome down. It looks fantastic. I don't like the chrome wheels. It still kind of looks like chrome, but they're not glary, so all the details pop. Probably a little too much actually, because this is a 2500 with a 6-bolt lug pattern, and I don't believe that's accurate on this truck. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the 2500 was a 7-bolt pattern. But they still look better. It's like almost like a frosted chrome look. Anyways, so really cool casting. The stance on it is great. It's actually spot on. Scale on this casting is spot on. It is true 164. If you measure the length and the width, it comes in exactly at 1:64 scale. The only thing is that I noticed, and it's not even a big deal, you might not be able to see it in the package, but the width of the tires give this kind of a Johnny Lightning feel, but not terrible. It's a great looking truck. It's so nice. I ordered a second one, mainly because I wanted to make an off-road truck, or you could call it a storm chaser or whatever. One more thing before we go into the good stuff. And I don't know if this will show it either, but if you look at the axles on this, you have a massive front and rear differential. Greenlight hasn't been doing a lot of that on their trucks. They've been doing just flush axles, which I prefer. I don't need the undercarriage detail. It means nothing to me. Couldn't care less about it. So I like when they do the flush axles because it makes the customization a lot easier. When I do my customs, I don't drill the cars. So, well, I'll put it up here and we'll take a look at it up here. Just a second here. I'm gonna slide over, but here's the truck after modifying it. So if you look at the base, I had to grind down the front and rear differentials, which depending on your tool can be time consuming because there is a good amount of metal that needs to be removed. But I don't drill the base, so the base is not drilled. But I did a couple other things. I painted the wheel wells. Actually weathered the truck. So I taped all the windows off, sprayed it matte clear, did a few weathering effects. I didn't go crazy on this one. It's pretty subtle, and I actually like it. And then I gave it a coat of just regular clear, but I didn't go real heavy on it because I wanted a little bit of shine, but not, I didn't want like a high gloss finish like what it comes with out of the package. So I did that, and then the tires, wheels and tires on this are, I actually originally had the M2 wheels and tires, but when you weather the M2, those M2 off-road tires, they look like crap. So I went with the Auto World tires, which look much better. And then as far as the rest of it, the Safari rack is a semi-custom. It came as a utility rack in a the M2 C1500. It's like one of those utility racks that has like the side panels that go down to the side of the bed, almost kind of like a ladder rack. But so I just cut the side panels off, and by doing that, it basically turns it into a Safari rack. And then I had a couple of other accessories laying around, so I just added them onto it, like the grill base, just to make it look a little bit more detailed. As far as the brush guard on the front, I had two of them available. I had an Auto World and an M2. I went with the Auto World, but I may switch it out for the M2. The M2 I actually put on this Land Cruiser. So this is what the M2 is. Granted, I painted this one black. And so, yeah, so I thought that I would take the customs that I've done and just do a quick video, just kind of to display this Suburban, which is the latest one that I've done. I also put a spare tire rack on the back. To do the lift, I just use aluminum tubing. You can get it at Hobby Lobby. It's real cheap, a couple dollars. And then for the axles, I get the piano wire, which is also at Hobby Lobby. You can cut it to any length that you want. The piano wire is a little bit thinner than the axles, so you do have to use glue to get the tires on, but that's basically it. And then for the aluminum tubing, I just use Gorilla Super Glue Gel, and it holds as good as any. I mean, I think it holds as good or even better than products like JB Weld. It's just, I've never had an issue with the axles coming off, especially if it's a plastic base. But the times that I have had to remove the axles, it requires a decent amount of force. And I've dropped them and stuff, and they just don't break. So, it's a safe method of doing it, I think. So that's the Suburban. Like I said, I had a bunch of spare parts. I always have spare parts from all the customs that I do, or I buy extra castings. Like if I'm at Walmart and I see an M2 casting that has any kind of utility rack or Safari rack or brush guard, I'll buy those to strip the parts off of it. And so I've accumulated over the years a lot of parts. You can see all these vehicles have Safari racks for the most part, and we can talk about the different racks that I have that I've used. So let's see here. Trying to think of which one was the first one that I did. I think it's actually probably this K5 Blazer. So this one, it's a nice casting. However, the detail, the sculpted detail is really bad on the door lines. So bad that as that tooling wears out, eventually it's going to get to a point where the door lines aren't even going to show. And it's already basically to that point. If you put a thick layer of paint on it, you're going to disappear your door lines. But I think this was the first casting that I did this to. And this one also has the Auto World brush guard. And I painted the brush guard black on this and this just to match the rack. But I'm not going to do that on the Suburban. But this is the same methodology with the lift. This one I don't believe required any metal removal. And I know this one here didn't either. The older Ramcharger castings have a different base that does require grinding the metal down. But they retooled the base when they released the Baja Ramcharger. And ever since they've done that, you can lift these without having to do any grinding. So that's pretty cool. Now, one thing about this one is that just adding the aluminum tubing was not enough. So I had to put a plastic spacer underneath it. Otherwise, it doesn't have enough clearance for the wheels. So this was one of the early ones that I did. This one here, I didn't do anything other than weather it. Everything is how it came from the factory. This is a Hobby Japan. And this one required quite a bit of customation because there was a whole bunch of suspension stuff that I had to remove. It wasn't hard or anything, but it sucks because I think I like this tooling better than the Inno. I think the red tooling just looks a little bit better to me. But this is one of my favorite 1:64 castings that I have. I was real nervous about doing this one because it's an Inno 64, but it turned out really nice. The issue I had with it was finding wheels and tires that looked appropriate because it's such a nice casting. When I originally lifted it, I had Greenlight wheels and tires on it, and it didn't look right. So the problem with these Auto World wheels and tires, they look great, but they're super expensive. Any casting that you find that has these wheels and tires, they always seem to be $15 to $20. So that's why I don't have very many of them, and I don't use them very often, but I had to use them for the Suburban. I had a BM Creation FJ Cruiser that I had them on. And I just said, I don't need that casting anymore. So I kept the casting, but I put the M2, the ugly M2 tires on that one. And here is the first dually that I ever did, lifted. The dualies are a little bit different because of the rear wheel. Same methodology. You just add the aluminum tubing, and then what I do on the rear, there's no wheel on the inner tires. As you can see, I just run the axle all the way to the outer wheel, and then I glue the tires together with just a very little bit of glue. But I think this thing looks sweet. This is my favorite late model Dodge pickup in 1-64 that I've seen. It just looks so much better with this stance. And kind of the same can be said for the Power Stroke. Same thing with the Ford truck. Only difference is this one has the M2 tires that I'm not very fond of. They look okay if you just paint them with the AK Interactive rubber black color. It just fades them just a little bit. But when you start adding pigment to them, they just look like crap. So, but yeah, this one I lifted. The topper came from an F-150. Actually, it's actually this same topper from this truck. Just a silver one from a different release. And it fit this truck basically perfectly. So I just tinted the windows on it, glued it down, put the safari rack on it. This is like almost like a urban assault vehicle. Put the snorkel on it. And also the exhaust tip. And that exhaust tip is just a piece of scrap from the aluminum that I use for the axles. That's all that is. The metal pipe is part of the base, and it was just sticking out, and it looked crappy. I'm like, I bet if I put a tip on that, it'd look pretty sweet. So that's what I did. So that's that one. Now, this one there's more going on with it. Now, this is one of only 2 of these that I didn't, actually, I take that back. I actually did lift this truck. So all of these, I changed the suspension on all of these except for that one and that one. But on this one, the front and rear bumper came from a Ford Bronco. Believe it or not, the bumpers on this truck and the Bronco are interchangeable. But they've only released this Bronco with this bumper one time, as far as I know. And that was the all-terrain, I forget which series it was, but it's like a bright orange Bronco, and it had this safari rack with that front bumper and this rear bumper. So this one's pretty basic. I just lifted the suspension. Here's an example of how I tint the windows. Because I I think these windows look really bad when they're not tinted. I just tape off the inside and just spray it with black. Any black. You can use gloss, matte, doesn't matter, because the plastic on this side is going to show the glass look. This is just black primer that I used. And I did that, I've done that with a few castings actually. The new white Ford Bronco, the OJ Bronco, I tinted those windows. I've done it on like I said, quite a few. I would do it on the Suburban if I could. If I didn't have to drill it to do it, I would do it. But one thing about when I do these weathered off-road customs, I do not drill the base. The process is I take Tamiya masking tape, I tape off the windows, I tape off anything that I don't want to spray. But the base, usually it's just the windows. I'll spray the wheels and tires too, because usually it makes them look better. But yeah, then I just spray the entire thing with matte clear, and then I keep the windows taped, and I'll add the weathering, and then depending on if I'm going for a matte finish or a gloss finish, I'll spray it once I'm done, and then that's when I remove the tape. So all the weathering stuff it's been locked down with clear coat, even on the tires. So you can handle them, without issue. This truck here is the only one where I've ever had an issue with the tampo bleeding. And the reason it did that is because I sprayed it with the clear coat. For some reason, this tampo didn't take it very well. I think there might be a spot on the Bronco on the back, if I remember correctly. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, you can see the difference in the quality of the tires though, from the Greenlight to the Auto World. I wish Greenlight would make a decent off-road tire. You take them out of the package, the tires, they look plastic. They're so shiny. They basically are plastic. They're not even soft. So, but yeah, this one, kind of the same story as the F-150 here. I had an extra orange Bronco. I bought a few of that release for the Safari Rack. And so on this one, I just swapped out the bumpers. I think that thing sells pretty good now, that orange one. It's pretty hard to find. I didn't actually keep the truck just because I thought it was an ugly color. Here's the technique if you want to do windshield wiper marks on your windshield. Just tape off tape off the wiper marks, and then just give it a light spray of matte clear. That'll give you a dirty glass effect. Now, as far as the racks go, it used to be, not that long ago, where you could only get these two racks. So this is the Greenlight Safari Rack, and that's the Auto World / Johnny Lightning Safari Rack. Now, for Greenlight, this is the only Safari Rack that they've released. They do have a rack for the Volkswagen van, but it's not an off-road rack. This is the same thing here for Auto World. Now this one's cool because it comes with the gas cans. But Round 2 does have another rack, which is this rack, which has been released on some other castings, and I don't remember what they are. This, if you want a good quality rack to do a custom, this would be my recommendation. This is a die-cast metal rack. Of all of these racks, they're all plastic except for this one. This is die-cast. It's from American Diorama, the 1:64. It's a winter set, so it's like a guy and a lady, and they're all dressed up. They have skis. One of them has skis, one of them has a snowboard. And then it comes with a couple of suitcases. But this is a good rack. It fits this casting perfectly. Like, absolutely perfectly. So, and that's one of the things when I did the Suburban here. It's such a long truck that when I was mocking it up, I have an extra one of these. But I went with this one because it's longer and it fit the truck better. And this rack, like I said, this is an M2. I just cut the sides off of it. So that's basically it. None of these have been drilled. It's just all about taping them off and spraying them, weathering them, and then you clear coat it once you're done. On this one, I went with the semi-gloss clear coat because I like the semi-gloss look better than the matte look. Like, I think this K5 would look better with a semi-gloss paint job on it. That's the other thing too. When you look at all of these castings, this one here would look a lot better with a semi-gloss too. But if you are gonna weather a casting, the dark colors don't take the pigment. Like this Suburban, for example, I had a lot of weathering pigment on this casting, but when I clear coated it, it's like it just absorbed all of the pigment. So if you are doing a darker color, you need to add a lot more pigment. The other thing is, for me, I will only weather enamel paint. The metallic colors you don't get as good of a result, in my opinion. So light colors, enamel, and you should be able to do it no problem. On this one here, I used a whole bunch of paint to weather it. It's not something that I have done on any of these other castings. I didn't use any paint on any of these. This is the only one, and I did that because I was going for a more rusty look. And you can see it just bled up on the windows, and this didn't come out very good. Although the grill looks really good, but then I hit it with the brush guard. The rocker panels look good. I mean, I think it looks pretty good other than the windows. It's pretty much the look that I was going for. But every other casting here, it's just all weathering It's not even weathering powder. It's a weathering pigment. It has a bonding agent in it. So it's really cool stuff. I use it for other stuff with the dioramas. You can get really good result with them. But as far as this Suburban goes, I like it. I like it quite a bit, actually. I've already had a couple people message me interested in buying it, but I don't want to sell it because I like to maintain a fleet of off-road vehicles. So, and that's pretty much it. I've been really busy with work and stuff, so haven't even thought about a diorama, but it is something lately. My creative juices have been kind of flowing, so I think I am going to be starting a new diorama here pretty soon, but it's not going to be anything like this one. The detail will be, but it's going to be much smaller because this thing is huge. It's really it's not very conducive to YouTube videos. It's really good for displaying. Now, if you're at a place where you have space for it, then it'd be perfect for photographs, videos, stuff like that. But for me, I don't have space for it, so I just put some L brackets on the wall, and I just set it up on the L brackets. But I may actually sell this one if any of you want to buy it. It's not going to be cheap though, but it's going to be pickup only. So if you live between Los Angeles and Albuquerque, and if you'd be willing to drive up to 3 or 4 hours to pick it up, then we could probably make arrangements. But the next diorama is going to be quite a bit smaller. But there you go. Greenlight, Chevy Suburban. I'm happy they brought it out. Now, I think this is a 6th gen, if I'm not mistaken. I would love to see a 7th and 8th gen along with the Tahoes. That's what I want to see next from Greenlight. I don't want to see it from M2. I don't like M2. Their cars are all the wrong size. They're all 1:60 scale, 1:62 scale. They don't look good. They're not. I want Greenlight to do it, or Auto World, and then I'll be good. But thanks for watching. I'll holler at the next one. If you want to see more of this stuff, or if you want to see like progress on diorama builds or these types of customs, you can follow me on Instagram. It's at optical_ruse, RUSE. So that's it. I will holler at the next video.